welcome to PVTV News. I am Tabitha.
And I am Eric. Cheer up, pup. Tucked inside a massive defense bill signed 2 weeks ago by President Obama was a provision that will allow U.S. military dogs to return to the United States after their retirement overseas. Previously, these working dogs were ineligible for military transport overseas to home, and soldiers who wanted to adopt their canine colleagues had an extremely difficult time getting them back to America. The 2016 National Defense Authorization Act changes that and gives the dogs military handlers first choice of adopting them. The American Humane Association estimates that each military dog saves the lives of between 150 to 200 servicemen and women by detecting IEDs and hidden weapon caches. The new law requires that military working dogs be returned to the U.S. soil when they retire, which can make a huge difference to the veterans who need to be overcome wartime trauma and readjust to civilization. This is a great day for military heroes at both ends of the leash. We believe all our veterans, two-footed and four-footed, should come back to heroes. Welcome, Humane Association President Robin Ganser said. Receiving thanks are Senator Claire McCaskill, a Democrat from Missouri, and Congressman Frank LeBoyne, a Republican in New Jersey, who introduced the provision into the Authorization Act.
Little did they know about his struggles with addiction when a church congregation, in a random act of kindness, tipped a delivery driver $700 for one pizza. Churches have been with large tips, teaching their members a lesson about generosity, but the congregation at Life Point Church in Mentor ended up learning more about miracles when they saw what their gift eventually manifested. The act of kindness early on a Sunday morning has snowballed into a life-changing event for 22-year-old Jeff Lewis. It just really, truly amazes me that people who don't even know me just wanted to help me that much. He says, "I'm blessed." They surprised Jeff by offering to pay 100% of his rehabilitation and therapy costs, which can run as high as $88,000 a month. Jeff flew there yesterday on the latest leg of his life-altering journey that began with a Sunday morning delivery, which turned into a takeout order of redemption.
The artificial fur was flying at a world record pace when the Calgary Hitmen scored their first goal on the night Sunday. The goal was a signal for Canadian hockey fans to toss stuffed animals onto the ice, and the avalanche of fur went on for nearly 2 minutes, setting a new world record in the sporting world's most unique holiday tradition. The junior hockey fans, ages 16 and 21, may be considered amateur athletes, but they were pros at rounding up toys for unprivileged kids after being showered by 28,815 stuffed animals on the rink. The toy drive is set up for a Christmas time game each year, and this year, the charity was off the boards. There were 9,500 more toys than people at the game. Players dove into the toy piles and posed for photos on the fluffy donations for charity. The team donates what they collect every year to 50 Canadian charities, which distribute toys to kids in need. The Hitmen have donated more than 300,000 stuffed toys in the past 21 years.
A 12-year-old cancer patient has become the sweetheart of a fraternity. Lexi Brown posted a sign in her hospital room window asking for a delivery. The Sigma Alpha Epsilon SAE fraternity house was directly across the street, and the brothers decided to serve up more than just pizza. The California-Los Angeles chapter showed up in her hospital room with the red roses and a guitar and serenaded the young girl. They also began visiting to play card games, which helped her pass the time, to remind her of the caring they wrote in bulbs. They spelled her name in lights on the frat house roof so she sees Lexi in bright yellow whenever she looked out the window at night. Lexi went home from the hospital, but the brothers of SAE promised to keep her name burning brightly all through the holiday season, a seasonal display of the fraternity's stated goal to always be a gentleman. And now to Seth Martin with a Santa story.
Whether the children on his knee are autistic, deaf, or just plain sleepy, Santa Claus has a knack for knowing just what to do to bring comfort and joy to a child. In Cleveland, Ohio, when an excited little girl hopped on Santa's lap, her mother made sure to tell the jolly old elf about her daughter being deaf. Santa promptly tapped the girl on the shoulder, on her arm, to get her attention, and the two carried off a Christmas conversation in sign language in front of a beaming parent. When 6-year-old Landon Johnson worried about his autism would put him on Santa's naughty list, Santa delivered the perfect reply to put the boy's mind at ease. "It's okay to be yourself," Santa told the Granville, Michigan boy. St. Nick talked to Landon for 5 whole minutes and made sure the little boy knew he's been a very good boy being who he is. And sometimes the hustle bustle of the holidays just wears a kid out. When 6.5-month-old Zeke Walters had to wait an hour to have his photo taken with Kris Kringle in Evansville, Indiana, the toddler fell asleep in his parents' arms. Santa had the perfect pose, catching a few needed minutes of nap time himself.
Thank you for that story, Seth. In China, decades of rapid industrial growth have been resulted in largely unrestricted environmental pollution affecting millions of people. Instead of waiting for the government to crack down on factories and businesses not meeting environmental standards, a small non-government organization stepped up to hold them accountable. The Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs, or IPE, sends inspectors to plants across the country to check on China's business. Hundreds of millions of Chinese have been exposed to hazardous compounds through air and water pollution. According to IPE founder Ma Jun, if we don't handle that right, this will not just threaten our social stability, but it could hinder this very economic growth itself, said Ma. Ma began as an investigational journalist reporting to the human and environmental toll of China's industrialization in the 1990s. The country's role as a major exporter to the United States of Western Europe, allowing its economy to grow quickly, often at the expenses of environmental safeguards. Now Ma has gained global recognition for his environmental activism and has found ways to convince international brands to be more environmentally concerned too.
Pluto, though not Mickey Mouse's dog, but the dwarf planet, has had some of the clearest images taken of it that Earth may see in decades. The black and white pictures taken from the New Horizons spacecraft and then sent to Earth, showing craters, mountains, and icy terrains that were in strips up to 50 miles wide. The pictures were taken in July during a flyby by the tiny ice dwarf. The distance from Earth to Pluto varies from 4.67 to 2.66 billion miles away. A former astronaut, John Grunsfeld, said, "New Horizons thrilled us during the July flyby with the first close images of Pluto, and as the spacecraft transmits the treasure trove of images in its onboard memory back to us, we continue to be amazed by what we see." Some of the images that Pluto took are of the Sputnik Planum shorelines and icy plains, and the New Horizon took over a year to transfer the photos to Earth.
The talk show host Diane Rim has decided to end her 30-year run of her show. Rim's retired day has not yet been planned, but will continue being the host throughout the presidential election of 2016. Her show consists of more than 2.4 million listeners each week. She began her career at WAMU as a volunteer in 1973, then became the host of 6 years later, which was previously called Kaleidoscope, but it was renamed in 1984 for Miss Rim. While hosting her show, she fought with spasmodic dysphomia, which is a voice disorder that causes strained and difficult speech. After the death of her husband in 2014, she became a supporter for the right to die legislation. What Rim plans for the future is to create a speaker show, a news story, or podcast, and other ways to connect to her loyal listeners. She will also be on a book tour in 2016 to support her biography, On My Own. That's all we have for today.
Till next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.